Wabash, the gentleman's rule. You gotta believe in that stuff. Wabash always fight.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. Coach, unfortunately, we get together after a loss on Saturday, a 16-13 defeat at the hands of Ohio Wesleyan. We've talked a little bit during the week. Ohio Wesleyan really brought a good team in and really played a great ball game. There were some positives for Wabash, but they were just beaten by a football team that really played a great game.
They did, and then we certainly did not play our best game. We feel like with the guys we're playing on offense, we just need to be perfect every play to have a chance, and we weren't. We made a lot of mistakes. We've worked hard to clean those things up. We've worked beyond the OWU game, and we're now on to Oberlin, but our focus is got to be tremendous offensively again to have a chance to play. I thought our defense played well, but offensively we have got to fix some issues we're having.
Well, you mentioned the defense. So you only allowed 91 rushing yards against Ohio Wesleyan, and they've got a good young running back who runs hard. We also saw a couple of other backs on their team that ran, really well during the game, but you were able to keep them under control. Evan Hansen had a career best 14 tackles, 11 tackles as solo plays. You got a turnover. Henry Weber Hunt forced a fumble that Clay Fullenkamp recovered. So your defense really did provide the opportunity, and they kept holding Ohio Wesleyan, with the exception of the one touchdown pass, really kept them out of the end zone all game long, and at least kept that game within reach.
They did. Still, I've never coached a game where you have multiple field goals blocked. That was awful. And in the end, we just made too many mistakes. We've got to throw the ball better. There's no secret about that. And catch the ball better. It's equal parties in that. And we can't run the wrong route. We can't line up in the wrong formation. We just really regressed from the Denison game. And we're going to have to play our best the rest of the season. I don't want to sound cliche, but it is one game at a time. The only thing that matters to us right now is Oberlin College. We need to be ready to play that football game, and I think we will.
Well, we'll talk about that one game at a time and how important that really does become here in just a few minutes. But we'll look at some offensive numbers. Ike James, 24 carries, finished with 87 yards. Isaac Avant with 14 carries for 55 yards. Weston was 13 of 32 passing for 166 yards. So you were able to get some movement of the ball, but it really ended up just being kind of a 40s to 40s or 30s to 30s. And that set up several of the Skylar Narig field goals, and you talked about the blocks, and that kind of just provided all the momentum for Ohio Wesleyan after each series.
It did. Saturday was an absolute mess. It's humiliating to be the coach when that happens, but it's my job to fix it.
We'll take a look at the highlights, and of course, we're going to see one highlight that I think everybody in the country has seen by now. Skylar Narig. Here you're going to see him kicking his 43-yard field goal to really open things up. Wabash took a 3-0 lead on this, and that's the longest field goal of Skylar's career, second longest attempt of his career, so an outstanding job by him on that Saturday, kicking that one. And then, of course, the play everybody's talking about, the blocked field goal that he recovered and took into the end zone. I mean, as a coach and for the team in general, what are your thoughts as that play is kind of unfolding in front of you?
The touchdown was lucky. You disgusted, and to get your field goal blocked, or in the kicking game to get anything blocked is just a sin. We had it happen multiple times, and I think we've corrected that with scheme and with personnel, and that can't happen again.
But it was a lot of credit to Skylar to have the reaction to grab that football. And again, we talked on Monday, it was a play that Ohio Wesleyan almost knocked it out of his hands as he was getting to the end zone, and he did a great job to hold on and take it in for the touchdown.
He did a good job.
We'll take a look again as we continue to look at the highlights. We're going to see the Henry Weber Hunt forced fumble here in a minute. How has the team's reaction been this week? I know when you and I talked Monday after practice, you said it was a really good practice and it was really kind of a players motivated practice, that it wasn't anything the coaches did to kind of get the guys up and going, that the players kind of took things over and really got themselves ready to go for practice.
And I think, as a fan, it lingers with you. When you're in season, we've only got 3 weeks of football left, and we'll see what happens after that. But this season is going really quick. The kids recognize that, and we had a better Monday practice than we did any practice last week. Tuesday was equally good. We'll see how we do out here later today. But the kids, and actually their effort on Saturday was excellent too. It was an effort. We just made too many mistakes, and no matter how hard you play, if you're doing the wrong thing, it's not going to work. So I think we have corrected that.
You mentioned that the season we're on the short end of the season now, 4 games left. The nice thing about the schedule, if you're looking at the possibility of that season extending beyond the Monon Bell game, is you still have everything in your control. This weekend, Wittenberg is going to be down at DePaul to play. Those are the 2 teams still undefeated in the conference. So at the end of the day, Saturday, there's only going to be 1 undefeated team in the conference. And no matter which one it is, it's a team you still have on the schedule. Is that important at this point?
It is. If you talk to any kid on our team and said, hey, what's the number 1 and the number 2 goal? Number 1 goal is to win the Bell game. The number 2 goal is to win the conference, and we can still do that. And before you talk about Wittenberg or you talk about DePaul, it really starts with Oberlin. And we've shown if we do not play our best, we can get beat by Oberlin. My first year here, we got beat by Allegheny and we got beat by Oberlin in the same season. And we are not that good to just show up and play a football game.
Well, you mentioned that, and that was going to kind of be my next comment, was you've got a coach on your staff that knows what it takes to beat Oberlin, or to beat Wabash, and that's former Oberlin head coach Jeff Ramsey. After that game, when we lost that second game of the season to Oberlin, and that was one where Jeff's team came in and just flat out beat us.
Sure.
I mean, they were the better team that day. That football team then kind of refocused, and for even beyond about a year after, that became kind of a rallying point that reminded them you can't just be ready to show up and go. Do you kind of feel that same vibe with this team, that it was kind of an announcement to the team that, hey, you've got to get yourself ready every day at practice, every day in film sessions, and when you put the pads on, you've got to be ready to go?
Well, it's ironic all week, and I don't think the kids mind me telling this, but they themselves were talking about it being a trap game. And then Friday night, most of the kids watched Clemson get beat by Syracuse, and that was to talk at breakfast the next morning. But you can talk and talk about it. We weren't ready to play Saturday, and again, that's my responsibility. So we're gonna fix that and get moving on.
The best news you've mentioned is you do get to move on. You can put it behind you, and now you get set to go to Oberlin. You're on the road. But this is kind of a team that's had a strange season too. Their first 2 games of the season were home games that they picked up wins and looked pretty solid in those wins. They've been on the road for a month.
Yep.
And haven't won a single one of those games. So you know they're going to be excited to get back home, to get back in their familiar environment, an environment where they feel like they've got the capability of winning. So you're going to face another very good football team on Saturday.
We are, and I mean, they've lost 4 in a row. That's evident, but equally evident, I think, is the fact that we're struggling to score points, and any opponent's going to say if they can score some points, they've got a chance against Wabash. So we've got some hurdles to overcome, and our kids are completely aware of it.
Well, it's a football team that Wabash shut out last year, but again, you and I talked on Monday, it's a vastly improved football team from the one that you saw last year here.
It is. Unfortunately for me, the conference is improving. There's no doubt about it. So we need to improve here at Wabash.
You talked about eliminating the mistakes. What are some of the other keys that Wabash has to really focus on against Oberlin this weekend?
Number 1 is we've got to throw the ball successfully. And again, it's no secret we're going to face teams with 9 people in the box, and they're going to make us throw it, and we have to throw the ball well, and I think Weston can do that. And I think our wide receivers are going to up their game too and wake up and get playing.
Kickoff is at 1 o'clock at Oberlin at their really new facility that is absolutely a fantastic facility. Oberlin's done a great job with that. Terry Byram will be back to call that game with me on Saturday. Looking forward to having Terry back as he gets prepared for the Monon Bell broadcast later this year. He'll also be with us at Allegheny in a couple of weeks. We'll have the pregame for you starting at 12:30 with this very show you're listening to and watching, the Don Morel Show, and then we'll have play-by-play action beginning at 1 o'clock. Hope to see you up at Oberlin, but if you can't make it, follow along with us. There'll also be links for the video on the Wabash College website for Saturday's game. Coach, safe travels to Oberlin. I'll be right behind you on the van, and we'll see you up in Northeast Ohio on Saturday.
I tell you, I cannot wait to play another football game. We need to get going.
You've been watching the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. We'll talk to you next week.
Wabash, the gentleman's rule. You gotta believe in that stuff. Wabash always fight.